This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, hi everybody. Calling to order the meeting of the Ad Hoc Cost Efficiencies Committee for June 22nd at around 3:03 p.m. Welcome everybody. We haven't had a meeting in a while. We've sort of been on hiatus, actually, I hate to say, but since the end of March, as we got busy working on budget and all that kind of stuff in town meeting, it kind of took over lives of everybody around, I think. So we didn't get back to where we left off, but we will see if we can pick up today and make some headway, or at least make a plan for the future, one or the other. So I don't see anybody out for open time for the public. We have enough of a meeting folks here for our quorum. Hopefully Ed will join us and maybe Eliza. Bob Riggs sent a note saying he may or may not make it depending on his work schedule. And so we'll see if he can make it. But let me share first thing. Let's just do a quick approval of the minutes from last meeting so we can get those out of the way. So I had sent those around today earlier. I'm sorry if you didn't have a chance to see them. I should have got stuff out earlier. I got tied up with other stuff too. But let me just kind of scroll down. This was, let me get down here first. Hold on a minute. Here we go. So this was our March 30th meeting, and we were talking about some of the same stuff about shared maintenance contracts and approved vendor list. We'll come back and visit some of those again today. That we were talking about way back when. Let's scroll this down here. So I think we were at the time we were talking about the HVAC combined contract. Both were due up pretty soon, and we were looking at BG, but wondering about in getting historical info from them and seeing if we could get a reduced rate if we combine contracts. Come back to that. Approved vendor list. We started talking about some of those things of all the main supplies, or at least the top 4 or 5 supplies that everybody seems to order, and figuring out how we might consolidate that. One of the suggestions that was here, which I can say right now that we did not do in the budget, which I saw later on here, I think it was maybe John or Brett, probably John's suggestion here about putting all the office supplies into one budget under general town hall, not a separate department budget. We didn't end up doing that obviously in the current budget, and I don't know if we'd really made a formal decision to do that, but that had been a recommendation at the time. Photocopier and printer kinds of things. I think eventually we broke this out between here he comes, between photocopier stuff and computer, and we'll come back to some progress I think on that. And then we had Eric Weiss had come in from PVPC, so it's really that long ago where he flew in for that short meeting. And I haven't bothered to invite him back yet because I figured we didn't have a whole lot of new stuff to actually involve him with, but we certainly do want to have him on the list to bring him back in. The other thing that we had talked about was some of the permitting software improvements, whether that was going to be expanding on the shared software that building has, as well as looking at the financial software options. And that was kind of it. So we were planning on having a meeting in April, and that didn't happen, and we haven't had one since. So those are basically the meeting minutes. Does anybody have any questions about those? Or if not, could I have a motion to approve them?
So
Oh, second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. We will consider them approved. Thank you. Hi, Ed. Welcome in. Yep, you're muted.
Hello there.
Hey, did you have time for lunch?
I just finished.
Very good. I know everybody's running in 20 directions as usual. So, okay, so basically we just went through the minutes, and I think what we'll do, I've got a couple things on my mind today, and I'm willing to take other ideas. I thought I would come back up with our couple of things that we'd started working on the service delivery and the internal cost savings and see what we know about this, if we can add to it. Again, my goal here at some point, probably not till maybe, I'm thinking the end of July or beginning of August, would be to have a presentation out to, oh, why you're not moving on me, to select board, to tell them a bit more about what we've been working on. Obviously, we've got a couple people represented here, but the others don't really know what we've been talking about. So just to sort of rehash what we had done, not in detail, but to say how can we finish it off? So do we really give ourselves some assignments and deadlines to fill in the blanks on these 2 or 3 forms, and schedule meetings to the extent we have to. So this particular one was on the shared online permitting, and this was talking, I think, Janet, this might have been part of the one you'd been involved with Jim, Ron Lauren, right? Talking about their software and how that might be expanded, possibly to the assessor's office, and maybe even the treasurer's office, as I note here. There were several modules to it, and the step was going to be to have Jim Reagan come in and talk to people about what that can do. And I guess that's probably a next step that we need to really take action on. And my question would be, should we have it more to this committee and invite Jen, invite somebody from the assessors to join in? Or should it be more, and I guess, yeah, we talked about here too, it could be anything. So a lot of different departments. So BOH, plan and Concom, we may not get anybody, but maybe BOH, town clerk, if it's worth doing it as a big group or a mini group. So I'm open to suggestions on that. Anybody have any thoughts about that? But I think we ought to at least hear what the options are, and then have enough information to make a decision as to whether this makes sense for us, or it really doesn't make sense to expand the current online permitting, and what it would cost, obviously. Any thoughts on that?
I just don't see any reason not to listen to what he says, and certainly have the stakeholders on the call. They're the only ones that can really assess in detail whether or not what the value would be.
Okay. All right. Okay.
My personal opinion.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts? Ed, any thoughts on this? Do you know this Jim Reagan guy? You must know him, right?
No, I'm not familiar with him. I will tell you, I'm not real thrilled with our current online permitting company.
Oh, really?
Well, let me put it this way. I'm not thrilled with them because it might not necessarily be the online permits, but through the water billing side of things. So same software company.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but maybe then it's an occasion to have them come and hear what they can and cannot do, or make them aware of whatever's happening.
And there are all kinds of other software companies out there that do that too. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so it may be just a good idea to find out what they can do and then expand on it with some other companies.
Okay, that would be my thought too. Let's take what we know in house, since this is the one, right, that ties into the building commissioners. That's right.
That's correct.
Okay, so could we ask Ron, or would you like to reach out, or I can reach out and set up a meeting, or what would you like to do?
I can reach out to him.
Okay, so let's do that and get a meeting set up for sometime in early July, whether it's Zoom or in person or whatever's good for them, or anybody, I guess. I don't know. And I guess I'm thinking that it would be probably yourself and Bradley and maybe Dave, not Dave Zagorski, but Dave, what's his
Arnold.
name? Dave Arnold.
Arnold. Yeah.
Dave Arnold, and if Jen and Lucy, whomever you think is appropriate to attend, just put out an invite and see who shows up, maybe. But at least 2 or 3 of the key ones that ought to be there, that might be affected by it. That would be great. So maybe if we could try to get that done somewhere in the first half of July, is that possible?
I would think so.
Okay, so let's do that and get him on track, and then depending on what we learn, we can get, you know, another entity to come in and talk to us and make a pitch to us about that. Okay. All right. Kind of tying
I'd
in
like
with,
to see-
yeah,
can we
go ahead.
see
Yeah.
Ron there too, because I mean, if Ed's not happy on the water side, but Ron's happy on the
Yeah.
building side, just to get kind of both perspectives. Is
Yeah.
Ron okay with what he has, as far as you know, Ed? I haven't heard differently, so.
Well, the one that rules that office for the online permitting would probably be Art, so.
Yeah.
Okay. And remind me, does this tie into the dog permits too, dog licenses, or no?
It can tie into any permits.
Yeah,
So,
but it does.
I mean, just, you know, just to let you know, as you go down the road, because there are so many software vendors out there that, and I've seen this before, is that different departments want different software vendors because they think a different software vendor is better, serves their department. So at some point, it becomes a top-down decision of who's using what, who's picking that one software company.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So this point software might not be something that some department would like, even though it offers them the online service, is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. And then right now our dog licenses are online, but that's a different software altogether.
Correct.
Okay. Of course.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. All right.
But like I say, the body that has the funding ability through the budgets has the ability to dictate to anyone what they use.
Got it. Understood. Okay. All right. Well, let's work with him. And I just realized my battery is going to die on me. Oh God, I hope I don't do this. And I'm in a place where I didn't bring my cord. I may have to switch to my phone, guys, but we'll see where we go here. Or make one of you the. Actually, let me do that. Yeah. Let me
before
get
you
out
die,
of
Chris.
Yeah.
Make somebody the host.
Yeah, let me do that. It's under security, right? Who's the host? Hold on. So I can share screen. Okay, where do I put the host here? I'm not finding the second host. Come on. Anybody know where I find the host? I don't think I see a possibility to do that. But I can name a host. All right, well, we'll keep going, and I may have to switch off to my phone here, or we might be in trouble. Hold on. Crap. Oh, Lordy. Where was that? Sorry. I think this was the one.
You're freezing up there.
Yeah.
Chris, hover,
Go ahead.
pull up the participants, hover over Ed's name and hit more. You should be able to assign.
Okay, let me stop sharing participants. Make host. Ed, you are the host. You're going to be the host. And I think I did a share screen too, that everybody can share screen, but I need to go back to my screen. So let me see if I can share the one that I started with till I lose it. Thanks, guys. Gosh, sorry, I had a family intervention here and had to be away from home doing this. Let's see how far we can get before I lose out. Yeah. All right, so this was the one we just talked about. I am freezing up here. Come on here. Come on. There we go. Okay, the improved software for finance team. This is one we talked about that we're going to try and, or more than try, we're going to work on through ARPA. And what we definitely need to do is to get our vendors in here. So this is another one too, where we've got two vendors that we want to probably invite, right, Ed? This is so either upgrading soft drive to Springbook or change to Vadar, right? So what is our
Correct.
current vendor? And so again, could we manage to get a meeting set up with those reps at some point in the second, third week of July? Whatever you think is reasonable in terms of them coming in, but assuming they could come in for an hour or so demonstration or talk with you and Bradley and Jen
Yeah, I would think they'd be able to do it by Zoom with us, so
or Zoom. Yeah, okay.
we'll set something up for the first couple of weeks in July.
That would be great. That would at least get that so that, we can't move too much further on these without knowing, where we're going on some of this stuff. While I have it on this page, before I do lose out, there are just a couple things that I just wanted to remind us of. We had talked about writing up some little policy directives for people in town hall. One was using a purchase order system with dollar limitations or parameters on it, in order to reduce paper costs, putting out some guidance in terms of photocopying or managing that somehow differently by department. And then the IT ticket support system. Are those still valid things that we want to try and work on? And how do we want to get that done the easiest way possible? I think it would be like a couple paragraphs, a memo or something out from the town administrator's office, Ed. Is that how that would work? Or
Yeah, that would work fine.
okay.
And I will tell you that the one part of what we've talked about got implemented today is both Ian and I ordered our new copiers. It'll take a couple months for them to come in, but one of the pieces when the new one comes in, they come in with the ability to set up codes for, shall we say, whether it's boards or committees or departments. So
Right.
I know I'll get some feedback on that, but I will have it set up so that you have to put in a code to use it.
Perfect. No, I think that's where we were going with that. So that's great news. Okay.
Because that gives us back the reports of, okay, how many copies or pages are being done by what department or what board.
Sure. Okay. Sounds good. Good. Then this is the other one in terms of our other category of things. And we do want to finish up on this. I think, Bradley, you've made some good headway on this in terms of the common supplies that people had been using from the departments. And we just need to kind of nail this down again in terms of what recommendations we have for which vendors, so we can make that a bit more realistic. So I'm going to leave this one for Bradley to still work on and try to get done by our next meeting to fill out the blanks on this. Is that okay? All right. The one I think, Ed, you were just talking about, I'm going to scoot down. Thanks, Bradley. So this was the shared maintenance contract. Let me scoot down. There's one more. That was the one you were just doing. Photocopier maintenance. Is this the one you were just talking about? Yeah. Okay, so we've actually done this is the photocopier, not the computer printer one, right? Photocopier one.
Right.
That you guys have just done a shared contract on now, or a shared order on?
Yes.
All right. Do we have an idea what that's going to cost us then for that?
Well, I know that that's going to save us about $1,000 a year overall, but part of that's going to the 5-year lease. So,
Yeah.
But we did get some, by combining them, we did get some beneficial.
Yeah. I think I remember we budgeted 5,000, right? In our town budget just now. We had 6 and we knocked it back now, I think. So that might have been reflective of that. So
Yes, it was.
yeah. Okay. I think I had a separate page for that. I may not have pulled up, so we'll have to fill in the blanks on that one, which is great. I think where we are right now, and I don't think you've maybe acted on this yet. You hadn't. I know when we last talked about the shared maintenance contracts with the HVAC and the boiler stuff, and we were talking here about both town hall and the school. As of our last meeting, you all had sent around copies that are right after our meeting, is sent around contracts. And what we know from that is that down here where my arrow is, so and the town hall contract and the Norris contract, they look pretty standard boilerplate. Pretty standard language of what they do, nothing necessarily customized, except they do include a list of all the equipment that they're supposed to maintain. And the one on the town hall had a separate list that included the kinds of filters, et cetera, which is different, believe, for the school because they have, as it said here, a different vendor for their MERV 13 filters. Currently Norris is paying $91.04 annually and town hall is $68.80 annually. The Norris has got a 3-year contract that ends August 24. And so their first year is coming up here at the end of August. And then town hall, we've got an offer in-house for, well, July 1st until June 23. So I guess now is the time to see if we're going to try and negotiate any kind of a deal with these guys to get that price a little bit better than 15,000 if we can total.
Yeah, from my memory, we were going to get some cost savings on service. I think it was an additional discount if we combined them.
I think from when Aliza had talked to them, they had talked about an 8% discount or an 8% savings. I don't know if it was a discount, whatever you want to call it, on service calls. But there could be some further discussion there, I think. And I guess the only question I had was, even though, you know, we've kind of said that BG is the one that we have been working with, and I think Ian, you go to them when you need to. You don't have a contract. That's right on that, I believe.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah, and you haven't really spent that much on them over time.
No, not over time. Just, I mean, recently we just had the new boilers put in by B&G.
Okay, so you don't have a maintenance contract yet for them then?
No.
Okay, so then the idea might be, Ed, as a third option, or not, another option would be to add a third entity in there, right, for them to be part of that contract? Okay.
Right, exactly. And,
Okay.
and in fact, there's a, shall we say, an offshoot of that today. I was talking to Ian.
Yep.
I need a vendor here to service our emergencies one, and he thinks the water
Okay.
department uses the same direction with those.
Okay. All right.
They do. We got I was just checking. We got a $200 discount because of the two departments. So it's a
Okay.
department joined in.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oops. All right, good. So that's a start. So that's, you know, if we can just kind of tidy up these things and finish them off, I think that would be great.
I think Chris froze up again.
I'm freezing, I know. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that. I'm going to stop sharing that. And Ed, I don't know. Let's see. Let me try. Bradley, if nothing else, you've got a copy of the budget too, because you and I worked on it. But let me just try to share that. I want to jump to that and see if we can get there just real quick before I totally die. So my thought was, as we started last year on this committee, we were looking at the low-hanging fruit and trying to do whatever we could do, the best we could do. And knowing that the problem of stabilizing finances in town and trying to make ends meet was a much bigger issue that we would have to look at over time, and try to figure out what other creative ideas we might have to find some savings that we had, you know, sort of been peering in internally and not coming up with other ideas, and we were getting stuck. So what I asked Bradley to do was to give us kind of a retrospective here, and he has pulled together a big worksheet, which I'm going to scroll back up if this will stop freezing on me. Come on. Darn it. Okay. So this is pulling together the budgets from FY18 all the way up to the present time. And hidden behind each of these is actually the original budget and then the transfers that we did. And all I did to show you today is the final column here. So these columns are just frozen, showing just the final budget. But then, like I say, in the in the backup spreadsheet as well as under these columns is the original and all the different transfers that were done. But what I wanted to do was just go down to the bottom here and just give us just sort of a overview and see where we might have any ideas to start probing this in a little bit more depth. So for FY 18, we were at a 16.9 million budget, went to 17.4, almost 17.5. That would have been 19. In 20, we were at 18.2. And in 21, we went down 200,000. And I'm racking my brain as to why without looking at each of these different columns.
Chris,
Yeah.
Chris, is this actual spent or revised budgets?
This is the final is with the with transfers included. So I
So
guess
it's actual spent.
it's actual spent as far as I understand through 21.
Their final budgets, that's what I pulled. There are no expenses there.
Oh, they're not expenses. Okay. Final
I can
budget.
fix it and add the expenses if you want that.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Well, we're assuming that we spent a certain amount of that, at least most of that. Okay. Yeah. So we don't know what we've put aside what we had for free cash or any of that stuff. Okay. Well, okay. Thanks, John. Good point. So these then are the final budgets that we had. So we were at 18, we went to 1870, 735, our current budget for this year, and then going up to 19,098. So that's where we are. So that gives us one layer of information at least. So what would be helpful, John? Please.
Yeah, could I share something else?
Yep.
Sure. I got it queued up. So I have two things to share, and then that I think would be useful. So one of them is this spreadsheet, and I started doing this on my own, but I don't have enough time to do it all. I briefly talked about this a year ago. There's another document. This comes out of Division of Local Services. So you can see, I'm assuming everybody can see the whole thing. So like right now I'm on the tax levy.
Yeah.
On the tax levy. So you go through and you populate the information, which a lot of this is off the gateway. And then it's designed to, once you put in your current data up to 2020, it can project out 5 years based on your trends on where you're going to go.
Okay.
So then we got,
I'll be back.
State aid, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
What we actually received, and then projections going out based on over here on the far side. To me, I mean, looking at budget numbers are great, but if we can start looking at what we really spent,
yep,
and then if historically we've only gotten 0.45 increase in Chapter 70 aid, well then that's what we should project out.
Yep.
We can
Okay.
start seeing where our numbers are going to be.
Yep.
You go through the
Valid.
whole thing. You got local receipts, offset receipts, available funds. It also comes out to, once this starts populating, we can look at debt and projections of debt when things are going to fall off the books, tie in capital.
Okay. No, this would be helpful. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
So I think the other thing that I would share.
So what do we need to do to make that work, John, then? What more do we need to add into that?
Well, so that spreadsheet comes with this 58-page manual.
Okay. All right, we each take 5 pages.
Well, I'm just thinking that the 3 hours I allocate to select board is not enough, but
Right.
but I'm thinking, and especially not now with Ellen leaving.
Yeah.
But once we get Bradley fully staffed, that this might be a project to go through. And within the Excel, Bradley, when you click on a section, it tells you, go to the DLS website, go to this section, here's where you find the data. So it's just a matter of somebody putting it in and controlling the spreadsheet and then showing us. There's a similar document and spreadsheet for the capital committee. So my game plan is whenever we reconvene capital is I'm going to try and push this on whoever the new chair is going to be to get them to do the same thing. So it's important to know where we came from, but if we can start projecting out 5 years and layering in debt, I think that would be,
Yeah.
it helps us tell the story.
Right. No, I think that's great, John. I think it does. And I think what I was trying to do here was just say, okay, where have we been in terms of, our levels of funding for each of the various departments? How has that changed over the years? We're obviously increasing our budget as we go along, and we're needing to do that for various reasons. But yes, we've got to match it with the reality of revenue and figure out, what are we really facing in terms of the obstacles and the icebergs ahead of us, so that we can do a better job at trying to understand where we might need to pull in services or regionalize or do something. So no, that would be great, John.
Yeah,
Would you mind-
it also paints the path on when we're gonna hit the levy ceiling and run
Okay.
out of the ability to increase 2.5%,
Okay,
which will be important to know.
sure. Yeah, okay. All right, so that might be something maybe just to share, send around, and if you would, and then, we, like you say, I think we won't tackle it immediately with Bradley being short-staffed to help out here, but maybe by August, we could start looking at that and see if we can get some figures populated in there, depending on that. But it sounds like there's several figures already put in there, John, that you've already done. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'll send the original Excel that I didn't touch, the master, with the PDF, and then a second version that has my things that somebody, I won't be offended, Bradley, if you go through and audit my work and find an error. It's okay.
Yeah. So where are you taking your figures from, John, to populate that?
I had Lucy give me select board access to DLS and the gateway for the town.
Okay.
So I could go in and look at the Schedule A's and that, and I've just started extrapolating the data and filling it in. But to get it up and running, it's probably going to take a cumulative of 40 man hours or person hours, I should say, to get it there. And then it becomes part of, in theory, once it's up and running, this should be one of the first pieces coming in on the budget. Okay, here's our 5-year projection and where we're going to be on revenue and overlays. And now, it becomes an easier piece to work with because you're only updating 1 year's worth.
And did you say that you've populated through FY20? Is that what I heard? Or
well, I started with certain tabs. So like our tax recap sheets, all that data is in there.
okay.
But I haven't made it to our debt schedules or anything like that. I
Gotcha.
think there's like 25 tabs down the bottom. I
Okay.
probably have 4 of them completed.
But so once we enter in whatever year that is, we don't have to enter in 21 and 22 manually, or we do?
We would want to change 21 and 22 to actual now instead of projected.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then it would project, yeah,
Then it would project out, right?
correct.
All right. Well, that sounds like a tool that could be useful. I do remember you bringing that up many months ago. But I think, yeah, that's the kind of idea of, trying to look at, it's hard to predict the future, obviously, but if we had an idea of what our trends have been and what is likely to keep on changing, and what we have to watch out for, I think that would be a great idea. So good. All right. Some other thoughts. I guess I'm hanging in here 2 minutes longer than I thought I would die here. Just in terms of an approach, I guess I'm, wanting to get those first 4 or 5 small thing, I'm calling them small things, the low hanging fruit finished, to be able to present that and say, okay, this is what we've recommended. These are the things that we are trying to put in place, and this is what the level of savings or efficiencies are going to be as a result of that, so that everybody's aware of that. But I think we do need to tackle the budget and looking backward and forward to see, what do we have to deal with as a challenge. So any other thoughts about where you'd like to go with this in terms of the committee and what would be helpful? I don't have all the answers by any means. I'm just trying to play traffic cop here and direct us somewhere toward something that can get us a little bit of a stronger foot of stability, and maybe not have to worry about overrides or, the next vehicle that's got to be procured. I mean, we've got, I'm assuming this spreadsheet, John, does this build in our various vehicle plans, replacement plans and things like that, or not?
That would, so there's an identical form under the capital.
Okay, that's
So,
when you're.
so we would go through that exercise and then tie the two together.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. All right. Anybody have any thoughts, reactions, other ideas? Anybody? I know we're all not budget wonks like John is and Bradley, but
Well,
We
I
can-
guess maybe, what I was thinking about previously was we maybe take a look at our trends over the last 4 or 5 years, and maybe by group, and who's grown and who's been right-sided and who's been downsided, and how do we compare our size and our needs to similar communities? And are we higher than other communities? Are we lower than other communities? I guess I'd like to make sure we're managing our business correctly,
Mhm.
just so to speak.
Out of our 18 or 19 million that we budget, how we're
Right.
allocating it and how that's changed over time. Yeah, okay.
And are there better ways of doing the bigger picture things? I think those are the harder discussions, I think, and I don't have any answers, but
Yeah.
And I thought maybe Eric Weiss would be able to share with us some of the best practices and that kind of.
Yeah. Well, we
had
can
a kind of busy
definitely have him
schedule.
back. I guess I would like to focus his attention on a particular topic or two, so it wouldn't be quite so wide ranging, maybe. I think the other thing I had in mind when I asked Bradley to put in the transfers too, is just to note where, and it's maybe probably more for a budgeting perspective going forward, but we end up doing end of year transfers. I mean, for a long time, we did the tree warden one, right? And now we finally have increased the budget to get him a bit more to start with, rather than knowing that every 6 months we've got to come in for a budget transfer. So just trying to see, with the kinds of transfers that we normally have been doing over time, does that tell us anything in terms of, a guide for our future budgeting too? I mean, I don't know, sometimes it does and sometimes it may not, but that was part of the intent, was just trying to look historically as to where we've been, and then say, okay, does it tell us anything? And then how do we use that for the future? But combining that with what John is talking about is probably the better way to go, and looking at looking through two different lenses on it. But I don't know. Bradley, Ian, anybody, any thoughts, comments? No. Ed? Ed? What's your thoughts? You're gonna hit me over the head, right?
Well, there could be a lot of different thoughts on that particular one. It's actual is better than budgeted, but then again, okay, spent wise, okay, every year of the last 3 years, have you had to transfer money into that account to get to where you needed to be? Transferring money out of that account, meaning you haven't spent it. So I think it's not a simple answer. I think there's a bunch of different parameters that you look at to get to that, to see, what the actual trends are and the needs are. But, I think doing something like you've done, or, John has started to do, is definitely a step in the right direction.
Okay.
And like I say, I might try to take some time from Bradley and maybe take what you have and change it into rather a budgeted to an actual. The other thing I'd probably actually do with that particular format is I would remove all the subtotals that are currently on there. Yeah, only because that a lot of those subtotals, and you're drawn right to them, just combine a bunch of different departments and some other expensive that may not, and you might leave it without the subtotals, or might take the time to actually maybe put in areas of new subtotals that we might be more, shall we say, reflective of actual departments.
More narrow to each department, rather.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's true, because there's a lot of lines in a lot of those categories that aren't all related to one department. Absolutely. The one thing in that spreadsheet, if you look at, so this is the combined spreadsheet. On the spreadsheet itself, you've got another tab down there that says transfers, and that shows all the different transfers. So we'll, that might be something we could take a look at in the future. But yeah, I don't know whether it's easier, Bradley. I know like I say, I just froze those panes of the original budget and the transfer budget to get to this final budget, but if you think it's good to just put in a column that could be just actual expenditure. Whoop,
Okay, so I'm the host. You're all at my mercy. Oh, Chris wants to be let back into the Zoom. Okay. Ah. There she is. Can you hear us, Chris? Can you hear us? We can't hear you yet. It says you're connecting to audio.
okay, I think we're in
There
now.
you go.
There we
Sorry.
go.
I knew it would die soon, but it was quicker than I thought. All right. Anyway, so yeah, I forget where I was, but just saying that if we could maybe, Bradley and I and Ed, you and I can, we can talk about how we can make that actual expense column in there. That would be probably useful for going forward then.
Yeah, I think it definitely will.
Okay.
And
Good.
actually seeing, budgeted to actual, I think is even
Mhm.
more of a plus. So that's great.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
It'll
All
be
right,
an
well,
easy
but-
addition. I just have to
Yeah.
bring over because I have the report and I just removed that column, so I can just bring it back.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, that's fine. It's a level of clarity of knowing what we really want and trying to see what makes the most sense. So that's great. That would be very helpful. So good. Well, I don't know. I don't have any particular thing. I don't want to belabor a long meeting when we don't have a whole lot more to discuss. But I guess I would like to ask that we do our best to try and finish filling out those 4 or 5 forms. But especially Ed, if you can connect with meetings for setting up for Jim Reagan and the 2 financial software people and get those guys scheduled so
Yep.
that we can do that maybe before our next meeting, and then we'll have something to deal with. Okay.
Sure.
And then if Bradley, if you get around to doing the anything on the what am I saying? The supplies one, feel free to send that around ahead of time too, or whatever. Okay. But maybe we should talk about next meeting. Do you want to set a next meeting date that would work for people?
Sure.
I don't know, sometime in July here. Is a Wednesday still good for most people? So could be the 13th. Is that a Wednesday? I've got my wrong thing up here.
That'd be good. It's a non-select board meeting week, so that's better than a Wednesday of a select board meeting week.
Right. Yeah. Let's aim for the 13th and see if we can do that. But do you think you'd be able to get the vendors in ahead of that though, Ed? The end of that first week of July, or? I know you're going to be out next week, right?
Yes, I am. Other than Monday.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be tight. We'll see what we can do.
Okay. Well, if they did, some Zoom stuff, maybe they could do, I don't know. Well, actually, now that we've got Jen and Bradley working half days on a Friday, right? Anyway, whatever. I'll leave it to you. But let's aim for the 13th. And if we don't have those, I guess I'd like to have the vendor meetings happen with you guys before we meet again, so we've got something that we can talk about in a little bit more detail. Okay. So if for some reason those can't get scheduled by the 13th, let us know, and then we'll reschedule. But I'll reserve the 13th right now for a meeting.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, Chris, tentatively, do you want to just plan on the 27th? If the 13th doesn't work, let's go with the 27th. So as they're planning, right? I mean, it's 2 weeks later, it's an off select board week. It's
Yeah.
still in July.
Yeah, it's quite a ways out. I mean, if we wanted to put some things in place for the beginning of the fiscal year, I was trying to get as much as we could done earlier, but,
All right.
and I think
Okay.
that contract, that one contract, well, the boiler contract, we've got to get done pretty early because our one for town hall expires like now, soon, right? So to the extent that Ed can negotiate a good deal with them, I guess I was hoping that I could do some presentation to select board at that second meeting, but maybe it would be the first meeting of August instead. Well, let's see. Let's go for the 13th, and if we get stuck, we'll have the 27th as a backup. How's that? Okay,
Sounds
Okay.
good.
great. And so, John, if you'll send around those documents, that would be great. The
Already
links
did.
there. Perfect. All right. No, that's great. I mean, I think that's what we want to try and figure out is how we can move forward with things. So, good. Anybody have anything else? Janet, you've been very quiet.
I
Nothing?
thought I added my 2 cents of humor.
Okay, you get 2 cents worth. Ian's added his 2 cents worth. Okay. All right. Well, I think then let's call it quits for today. It was good to get back and sort of reconnoiter here, and maybe we can get ourselves on a path of way forward. I don't want to give up on this committee. I think it's really important. I think it's something we need to do. It's just a matter of finding the right path to follow that makes our time effective and also can involve everybody. I mean, we're all, I think, very focused on what we know and what, we know what we don't know. So, I mean, I'm sure Ian, you're much more focused on the whole public safety category of the budget, and Eliza's obviously and John are focused on the school budget, and, everybody has a specific knowledge base, but we want to kind of break out of that a little bit too, and see if we can do some cross learning and cross understanding of what our budget means to us all, I think. So much appreciate the time and effort. If nobody has anything else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I think I hear everybody almost. If not, we'll call it quits, and thank you guys, and thanks for being patient with my silly Zoom today. All right, we'll call the meeting ended. Thank you very much.
Thanks for hanging in there, Chris. Take
All
care.
right, take care. Bye-bye.